up close and independent.
It's so important to make someone happy.
At the National Lottery, we just wanted to say thanks a million to all our players. In fact, make that 254 million, which is how much you raised for National Lottery good causes last year.
And you will be happy too.
You ain't shit! I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
Well, fans can be the harshest critics, you know.
And they often are.
A wife is often the harshest critic of her husband.
I thought I was invincible. That's what you're trained to believe as a sports person.
There was 4 million people in Ireland who knew much more about managing football teams than I did. When it comes to music, I can spoof at the best.
Your sporting career is the best time you'll have, and you know you have to hang on to it for as long as you like, because everything else is pretty crappy.
And this is not lies. Stephen Rothschild has never spoken to Jimmy McGuinness in his life.
Welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5 o'clock. We're streaming live as well now, so as well as listening on News Talk, you can watch us for the social channels on Off the Ball, at Periscope on Twitter, at Off the Ball, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on the new OTB Sports app. Search OTB Sports in your app store now to download it for iOS and Android if you haven't already. This is the Saturday panel on the opening weekend of the 2021 Six Nations. A strange competition, no fans, but great to have it all the same. So over the next hour, we're going to preview Ireland's match against Wales tomorrow and look ahead to the whole competition with 3 great guests. Keith Wood, Ireland's former World Player of the Year, ex-Munster and Harlequins hooker. Jonathan Davies, the former Welsh out-half, Triple Crown winner and Great Britain Rugby League star. And Mike McCarthy, the ex-Ireland, Leinster and Connacht second row. Keith, Jonathan and Mike, good afternoon.
Thank you, John. Great to see you. How are you?
Yeah, good lads. I'm thrilled that, Keith, that we have something to look forward to over the next few weeks. No fans. It probably could be going behind a paywall after the Six Nations, but just to have it is a godsend for me, I think.
Yeah, I do. I think so. I in many respects, some of the sport we've been watching for a while has been a bit of a pale shadow. So the autumn international matches didn't quite set the world on fire, though we got to see sport, which was great. But it was a made-up competition. This is a historic competition. So even though there are no fans, there is a sense of expectation that something fantastic is just about to happen. So I like it. I love the history. I'm going to kind of find it a bit unusual to look at those huge stadia with nobody in there. And I'm interested to see whether they close the roof in Cardiff as to how mad the sound is reverberating around that stadium. So, look, I'm looking forward to it. I think we have to hold our expectations a little. I think what rugby has managed to do over the last 6 months and some of the levels of performance and players playing with no atmosphere has been pretty extraordinary. So, look, I'm looking forward to it because this time of the year is just, it's not the same if we don't have Six Nations rugby.
I was a 19-year-old nobody, Keith, in 1998, and I remember going to the Berkeley court and putting my microphone in front of you ahead of the Wales game. And around that time, I remember we would always lose at home to Wales and we win away. And you went to the home of football and scored a try against Wales, Wembley.
We couldn't beat Wales couldn't beat Wales in Dublin. We couldn't lose to them in Wales. That was my first 5 Nations win, as it was in that stage, and it was brilliant. I mean, one of boyhood dreams, score at Wembley, but you rarely expect it to be a try. And it was a try. It was a sidestep away from Scott Gibbs, and I'd like to say that's a great piece of skill. But I think it was proper protection because that guy was like a dump truck. I didn't want to run into him at all.
Jonathan Davies, you were coming to Dublin and winning Triple Crowns in the 80s and beating Ireland at a World Cup. Once again, you couldn't win at home, but you could always come to Dublin and win.
I think just we overextended the hospitality, I think. I mean, it was the same when I went to Dublin. I enjoyed Dublin, you know, when I played and, you know, post my career. So I've always enjoyed Dublin. It's a great place and I've always had a great welcome there. But yeah, it was similar to Keith, never won in Cardiff Arms Park, but never lost in Lansdowne Road. And I think when we won as a great, we won a Triple Crown in 88. I'm sure there was 20,000 extra, thousand in there. They were all sat in front of the advertising boards, which I'm sure the marketing directors of those companies weren't happy with the amount of money they were paying for advertising. But it was a horrible game, but it was a great night. And I remember we came in, Dickie Bowes about 6 a.m, and I'd forgot that I'd volunteered to play for Neath in a charity match. I'd promised Tony Doyle that I would play on the Sunday down in Greystones. So I got dragged out of bed at 11 o'clock, went to play Greystones at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the Sunday. And I run out on the pitch and thought, who's that guy playing number 10? And I was playing against Tony Ward.
Oh, brilliant.
I know. So I told Tony, look, don't mess about now. I won't make a fool out of you, and you don't make a fool out of me. And now it's a deal done, and we had a lovely afternoon.
Was it a late night the night before?
Yes, slightly late. It was a late night on Saturday, and it was a late night on Sunday. So then back to work on Monday morning. So yeah, it's I don't know. It's something special between the Irish and the Welsh, and I know I still got great friends from my playing days. Very fortunate. I didn't play against either of these two young lads, but you know, there's we always have a warm welcome, and I that'll be this, as Keith alluded to, that'll be the sad thing about it. You know, I've been involved in international rugby now since '85, and I've never ever been able to park anywhere near the Millennium or Principality, but I'm driving straight in tomorrow and parking under the ground. So, you know, that says a lot. It'll be odd driving into the game, because that's what the players enjoy. Get on the bus when they drive into the game, you know, it's with all the fans screaming and shouting at them. It'll be an eerie atmosphere in Cardiff tomorrow, but fingers crossed that, especially with no crowd, I think the game has got to be a little bit more entertaining. Because if you've got a dog fight like a 6-3 or a 12-9, and it's you know, it's the atmosphere is there and everyone's worried who's going to win. But if it's a, you know, tour de fair tomorrow and there's no atmosphere there, it'll be interesting to see how the viewing public take it.
Yeah, Mike, in 2013, Ireland beat Wales in the Six Nations in Cardiff, and there's the last time we beat them, and you played that day. I remember the day of Simon Zebo's bit of skill, that magic little flick. What are the memories that come to your mind of that day?
Yeah, I know I'm amongst two legends here in Jonathan and Keith, but you know, my record against Wales isn't too bad. I think, yeah, one in 2013, and I drew in one of my last caps in I think it was about 2016 or 2017. So not a bad record against Wales. I know I've got less than half the caps of these two lads, but yeah, 2013 was a special memory for me. Real hot sunny day, and I think you've probably seen the clips going around Twitter of Zeebs', I don't know if it was luck, if it was magic, or if it was skill, a mixture of all three. But yeah, I remember Roy Best charged down, I think it was Dan Bigger's kick, and then a bit of multi-phase. Jamie Heaslip gave a bit of a poor pass behind Zeebs, and he flicked it off the outside of his boot and managed to catch it in two hands. A few phases later, Cian Healy piled over. But yeah, a real special memory. I think we were up quite a lot at half-time, and the second half was a real onslaught. Wales came back at us, but we managed to hold out. But yeah, I suppose my memory for me is I feel a bit of a clown, to be honest, because I was doing the warm-up and I stupidly wore a brand new pair of boots out the box on a nice sunny day with 21-inch studs. So I was warming up with these boots on, and I remember thinking to myself, oh, what an idiot wearing boots. I hadn't even worn them in on the Monday during the week. And I was kind of thinking in my head, should I go off the pitch during the warm-up to change my boots? And it was just too embarrassing. So I ploughed on in severe discomfort. I think I cut off the blood supply to my feet, but managed to change them just before kick-off. And I thought my preparation was completely out the window, but thankfully we managed to have a good performance and win that game in 2013.
Where are the boots now, Mike?
Oh, I've already got a pair of Baldies, actually, which I use for doing the occasional hill run. So, yeah, all the boots are gone, so...
Yeah.
Jonathan and I were commentating on that game, if I remember rightly, and with the BBC. And that's one of the things that I would say when I look back at these matches, and maybe looking back at what we're going to miss over this weekend, which is that catch up, that camaraderie. And of course, we play against each other. And Jonathan and I didn't. He sold his soul to rugby league very early. Only joking. And so he went to rugby league, and we didn't get the chance to go. There was a hope that he would have been on that Lions tour in '97. We'd had the chance, and that didn't happen. But I'd started working when I was 24 with the BBC. I'd injured, as I so often was in my career, and it was a great chance to kind of go and do things. And when I finished playing rugby in 2003, it was the Six Nations was the thing that just lit up the whole year. So myself and Jiffy and Jerry Guscott and then Andy Nicol then afterwards. And, you know, suddenly you have a group of people that meet up all the time. And it's fantastic. So, like, we had a couple of big nights out after those matches too. And it was, but that sense of kind of fun and camaraderie, and we took it very seriously. And I remember listening to one of our producers, I don't know if you remember this, but they were saying, listen, you have to remember that you're catering for everybody and you can't really be a fan. And I said, I'm sorry, I'm Irish, I'm shouting for Ireland to win, end of story. Yeah. And they said, okay, we'll accept that. So, but it was, you know, we can still fight our own corner, still have a bit of crack with it. And they're the sort of things that you do miss. And like the madness beside the Holiday Inn and the Angel Hotel going into Cardiff, like the total carnage on the street, like trying to get out of your hotel to get in to commentate on a game, they're almost more vivid for me because, you know, playing is 20 years plus ago. And but I used to love that idea of the bus journey going into a Six Nations match and a bus journey going in to Cardiff, and it's mad and it's loud and it's noisy and you're suddenly in at the back of it and you kind of get a bit of calm and then you come out into the stadium. The stadium is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's just it's fascinating as well. It's been a great stadium for us. The Munster, the couple of European Cup wins there, Leinster beating Northampton, the Grand Slam game, Ronan O'Gara. It's been a great stadium. I was even watching last night, Jonathan, your debut against England there in 1985, and just seeing how different it was with the brown ball and everything, all that kind of thing.
I know. It was odd because it was great playing. Nothing replaces playing. But as Keith, mentioned, it's one of these things where when Wales won the first Grand Slam against Ireland, I felt as if Ireland kind of wanted us to win that game in a weird kind of way. But then it was replicated then when you came to win the Grand Slam, and as if our fans went, we don't care if we lose today, to be honest. We'd like the Irish to win the Grand Slam. So they are special moments, and I do think that Cardiff on International Day is a very, very special place. And I think because of its location and how everyone mixes in the pubs and the restaurants beforehand and afterwards, and it's a special place. Because I was thinking, where were you staying, Keith, on Mike? Do you remember what hotel you were staying in Cardiff?
For when we were playing.
When you playing Wales, yeah.
God, I've no idea. We were. we were outside the town, I think, at one stage, and we were in the Hilton at another stage, I think. Oh yeah, which isn't too far away.
You didn't walk to the ground from Hilton, did you?
No, sure. Listen, we used to stay in the Berkeley Court for Lansdowne Road matches, and we would drive in a bus. It's only 150 yards. You never walked.
Garda escort.
No, well, you also have to save your energy, you know. So no, we never walked anywhere. That's for certain. So no, it was always a drive and crazy with people outside. When you're driving through fans, there's a lovely idea. And like we talk Lansdowne Road, we talk about Cardiff. My favourite actually was going to Paris with the police outriders, where they're kicking cars out of the way. We get all the young guys up at the front of the bus. Watch what happens here. Watch what happens with the cops on the motorbikes, and they are literally kicking the doors of cars out of the way, and you're driving at a ferocious rate. It was as exciting as the game. Almost,
you saw that video going around on WhatsApp video, lads. The one Andy Farrell on the bus. There was a video going around of the bus trip to the ground in France, and all the lads on the bus crying, laughing, and as you said, kicking, police kicking motorbikes over, blowing the horn and everything. But Jonathan, the hotel we stayed in was right in the city centre. Is that what is it, the Marriott or the Hilton?
Yeah.
The revolving doors at the front, that probably doesn't narrow it down very much because most hotels are revolving.
Yeah, the Marriott. Doors, I was only one Marriott in Cardiff. Yeah.
Oh, okay, and then we used to walk out and we did our team walkthrough right in front of the castle, which is pretty amazing. And then, like you said, the bus journey going in, two games live with me is when you play Scotland away and the bagpipes leading you in, and Wales, when the fans absolutely smashing on the doors and the windows. It's pretty intimidating. So I suppose that'll be obviously very different for the lads when they play. It'll be kind of a bit surreal, a bit eerie, like a ghost town. Yeah.
And there's been a bit of enmity, there's been a bit of an edge to the Ireland-Wales in the last decade or so. The cake tin game when Wales beat us at the World Cup. It's not always been sweetness and light.
I just think because of the familiarity in the Pro 14, And the regions, the Irish regions have totally dominated the Welsh regions. So I think when they've lost so many times, to the regions, that it's an opportunity to get one over on them, and that's the best chance. And I feel that's they know each other so well, week in, week out, and I just think it takes it to another level. And with the the scrutiny of the international media, and then the whole. Because once you get to an international stage, it magnifies 100 times over. So every play is vitally important. Or if you make a mistake, they jump on the top of you. So I just think it's a mark of respect towards each other.
I think it's a mixture of respect and bullshit mind games. That idea. Let's
We've got a lot of that.
Let's steer everything beforehand and say, how many Welsh guys will get in the Irish team?
Jared Gilroy's been doing that this week.
Yeah, off the ball have been
Wales are rubbish. He's been dominating the headlines, and Adam Jones reacting to it and said it was very disrespectful. We even said something and it's got reaction.
What did he say?
Jared, our presenter, our show said that Wales are rubbish, are going to get annihilated.
Great.
Well, there you go. So they're the simple things that you put up inside in the changing room from time to time.
Exactly.
Easy.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think Andy Farrell's been trying to dampen the fire today with those comments, because there's no doubt about it. They'll definitely have those quotes. I mean, even if it gives them 1 or 2% extra on game day, those quotes I'm sure will be up in the changing room, and that's something Warren Gatland, I know, used to jump on anything like that. He'd have it in the changing room, and the guys would raise their game.
I was looking at some of Eddie Jones was saying, and part of this is media. We know we're on the media here as well. So look, we're stirring some of that pot too. But he makes a comment. I think maybe that expectation might put them under pressure with 10 or 15 minutes to go. I saw one of the headlines being Eddie Jones doubts the mental capacity of the Scottish team to front up. Which was nothing. He didn't say that at all. Yeah. So it just got made into this kind of extra story. But one of the reasons you're supposed to look at these things and give what you think is going to happen, not what you think won't offend the opposition. So that's part of our job. I used to always try and say this with the guys, what they read or what they don't read. I said, lads, if you're offended by what you read, don't read anything at all. Yeah. And be content with the knowledge that you have, and look for some bit of insight from the people that you want to hear their opinion from. Of course, that's totally out the window now with social media. So half of the stuff is a reaction to an innocent comment. Then there's a nasty reaction to that reaction. So, but I love it. And Jiffy, you said it there. The pressure of the Six Nations is so much, and on the first weekend in particular, is so crazy because it's a competition that's built on momentum. And you can get yourself in a really good position and suddenly you have a home game against maybe a lesser team. Things become much easier if you get the win under your belt. If you get the loss, that can actually put you, down a bit of a hole very quickly. So that pressure is amazing. So I think people crack long beforehand. No mind playing the matches. I just think it makes it more fun. That's why we love it.
Yeah, the team selection guys from both coaches, Andy Farrell and Wayne Peevick. Mike, Tyg Burns got the nod in the second row. Ian Henderson's coming back from injury, but he's on the bench. And we have Josh van der Fleer picked in the back row alongside CJ Stander and Peter O'Mahony. What's your view on those calls?
Well, first of all, I think it's hugely exciting when you look at the team selection. I think it looks as strong as it's looked for a long time. Especially when you look at that bench, the impact that's going to come from that bench. I think the Wales team does look strong. They obviously missed the likes of Liam Williams and, the winger's name, who's that?
Josh Adams.
Josh Adams, he's banned for two weeks. But it looks incredibly strong, and it looks stronger than it has looked for a long time. But I actually thought they'd start Henderson with Caelan Doris out and missing, and what he gives in terms of go forward and in the carry. I thought they'd actually start Henderson. But Tyg Furlong to come on, David Kilcoyne to come on. That's massive impact, and I think that's a real area that Ireland, they'll certainly be looking to get on top of Wales in that set piece foundation. But I said they're picking from a really strong deck. Like Tyg Furlong's back, Henderson's back, Kilcoyne's back off the bench. Yeah. James Lowe's just back for the first time. Jordan Lama, I know he's on the bench, but he's only back recently. Gary Ringrose as well. So I think we've got 2 or 3 world-class players in each position available, which is exciting itself. And then added to that, the Paul O'Connell factor, which I know we'll touch on later, but he's going to bring an extra edge physicality-wise for the game. I know he's doing the line-out and Simon Easterby's moved to defence, but what Paulie will bring, not only in the line-out, which he'll kind of improve on, and he'll give James Ryan and Ian Henson confidence and a simplified kind of calling menu to use, which will help them concentrate on, bringing physicality in their own game and not having to just concentrate on the lineouts. But he'll bring a real nastiness, I think, at the breakdown, which is an area I think that's maybe slipped a little bit since Joe Schmidt has moved on. We know with the Joe Schmidt team, the breakdown, Ireland brought a huge amount of ferocity, and it was about, building phases, get to a real high number of phases, and then, teams start to fatigue, dog legs appear, teams start to give penalties away, Ireland kick to the corner, they get their maul going, or they kick their points. So I think that's an area that has kind of slipped a little bit since Joe's moved on, and I certainly think in the short space of time that Paulie's been there in camp, that is an area you're going to see a huge improvement on, the ferocity, the dynamism, the reaction to the ball carrier carrying the ball. I think you see a big difference there, and I think you see an improvement in the lineup.
Has he got the team right in your view, Keith? What Jordan Larmour not picked as James Lowe and Keith Earls on the wings, Hugo Keenan full back, Byrne and Van der Fleer into the pack?
Yeah, I like the team. I'm a fan of Hugo Keenan. I still think he's very young in it. He isn't a sort of classic shape of of a fullback, but he's the most comfortable guy under a ball that we have at the moment at 15. I've one worry. I would have gone with Rhys Ruddock at 6, and I would have put Peter O'Mahony at 7, because I think that sometimes you need to play an emotional game. I think that's one of the reasons for Tadhg Byrne being in. He played an awful lot of his rugby in Wales. Rhys Ruddock is the son of a Welshman. He's a Welshman too. I think sometimes you can play those, you can get great performances out of them. I'd like to have seen him play. He also has played very well all year. I'm not offended by anything in the team. I think it's a really good team. I think it looks really well. The coach makes his decision. The only point I have that I would say that makes me nervous is that a huge amount of the players have come back from injury. Some of them have come back and have played little to no rugby. Some have played 1 or 2 matches. You can get away with a few of those guys, and some guys respond really well to playing a big match, even if they've been out for a while. But that isn't true for lots of players. And I think we have a lot of players that have been injured, that are coming back. Some of them are coming off the bench. So for that's one area of doubt for me. But again, I wouldn't put it as a criticism. I think as a squad of players, if they're all fit on the top of the ground, it's a really excellent squad. And I'm excited by it. I'm excited to see some of the combinations. I want to see Ringrose and Robbie Henshaw getting a run of games together. I think that's our best centre combination. I think we look better when they play. And I want to see how Johnny gets on. So Johnny's limped off a few games over the last period of time. He needs to take it closer to the game line. If we're going to try and get over the game line properly, he's going to get smashed for doing so. So he has to be robust. And but no, I like the team. I think it's a team to beat Wales. So for that and that alone, I'd be excited.
Okay, Jonathan.
Is Aki injured?
No, he's just not. He was Ringrose and Henshaw preferred to him.
They were preferred. Okay. Okay.
And he's not. So he's not in the squad.
No.
He's coming back, but there's not an injury there.
Okay.
We've got a situation here with Josh Adams going offside, as we know, Jonathan, with the COVID rules. Liam Williams is suspended. Jonathan Davies, a real blow, is injured. George North playing at centre. 3 wins out of 10 under Wayne Pivac. Are you happy with the shape of the Wales team? Dan Levy, it's come back in. Ken Owens has recovered from injury to start at hooker.
I think the biggest worry I've had for a number of years is if I look at Ireland and England, and obviously France, their strength and depth. You could have picked a number of players in most positions. And even Scotland now, look at the side that they've picked and who they've left out. And that's been a worry of mine for a long time, is the strength and depth. If you look at the age of a lot of the Welsh players, and there's no one really ready to push for their places. And when you get Liam Williams in banned and then Josh Adams banned, it is a real strain on selection. And I thought that, I know Jonathan Davies hasn't played well. Jonathan Davies hasn't played well since he had his injury in the World Cup. Because of coming back from a serious knee injury, it takes a lot of time, a lot of courage. And then with, the stop and start seasons with COVID, he hasn't really regained his form. So they had no options. They're in a real bad position at the moment. Autumn, he put himself under pressure, Wayne Peever, because he said he wants to change the style of play. And I don't think you can do that unless you have a go forward. And we've had slow ball and no ball carriers. So the worry I have is where are they going to break the Irish line? That's my worry. Who's going to carry the ball? So Ken Owens is back, which is good. Dan Lydiate has been playing well. He carries the ball. Josh Navidi's on the bench, but same as Keith, he hasn't played. I think he's played one game. And then the back three, I don't think he had much choice then. There's hardly anyone else to pick because of the player suspension. So George North has to go in the midfield. And in one way, I look at, that's why I asked if Aki wasn't selected, because they are two massive centres. And if I was coaching it away, I would just run down Johnny Sexton's channel all day long, because I think that's the only option we have. And maybe with those two big centres, they can get over the top of the Irish centres. They're quality players, but not as big as the Welsh players. But I am worried because I watched them in the autumn, and everyone complains about the box kicks, but the box kick is played because of the slow ball, and we have to create quick ball because we haven't got the people who can break the line in the back. So I am slightly worried, but we do play better against the better sides, and I class Ireland as one of the better sides in the Six Nations.
Okay, Jonathan Davies, Keith Wood and Mike McCarthy, thanks very much for the moment. We're going to be back after the news with the rest of the Saturday panel previewing Ireland and Wales in the Six Nations. Back after this.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
On this week's Down to Earth, the show that looks at our natural environment and how we address the limits of our planet's resources. Carrie Summers explains the environmental impact of what we wear. Troy Armour and Maxime O'Sullivan tell us how the Junk Couture platform teaches sustainability through high fashion. And comedian and writer Cullum O'Regan is my guest this week for My Green Life, where he'll lighten up about the small green changes he's made in his everyday life.
Down to Earth with Amundi, working today for all our tomorrows.
Subscribe now to the podcast and tune in this Saturday from 8 p.m.
on News Talk.
Welcome to Go Loud Jazz, the new home for jazz music in all its forms. Big band, bebop, smooth, and everything in between. Featuring a mix of new tunes and famous tracks by legendary artists, from Monk and Davis, Parker and Coltrane, to Ella and Billy. Go Loud Jazz. Fascinating rhythms. Download the Go Loud app now for free. Go Loud. Podcasts, radio, and music to your ears.
Make it a really good afternoon and check out the great car insurance discounts at insuremycars.ie. Ireland's trusted car insurance specialists. For super family savings, check out insuremycars.ie. City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as insuremycars.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The Sky Sale is now on. And who doesn't need a pick-me-up at this time of year? So get award-winning Sky TV and our best ever Wi-Fi with ultra-fast broadband together from just €50 a month for 12 months.
Well, that's nice.
That's a feel-good saving from us. So save big on the Sky Sale. Search Sky 50 today. Offer ends 18th of February. New Sky customers only. Availability subject to location, minimum term and further terms apply. For more info, see sky.ie/speeds.
At Energia, we're proud to be the power behind Irish rugby. And proud to keep bringing you great savings. To save the most, the best tactic is always to go direct to Energia, and you'll make your biggest savings when you switch to our cheapest dual fuel bundle. Always play it direct. Go to energia.ie or call 1850 300 700. Energia, the power behind your savings. EAB €1,413 based on average annual usage. 12-month contract, discounted unit rate, standing charge, BSO levy and carbon tax, T's and C's and early termination fee apply. Valid from February 2021 and subject to change. Verification and T's and C's at energia.ie/EAB.
On your phone, it's just a video of a garden kickabout. Yes. But on a new Samsung Galaxy S21,
It's an epic sporting moment captured 14 different ways using single-take technology. At once, a stunning portrait of a stricken keeper, a flurry of garden gasps, a heroic close-up of a determined striker, all ready to share for the glory of endless likes.
The new Samsung Galaxy S21 Plus 5G. Made for the epic in every day. Available now.
Come on, best of 3?
COVID-19 vaccines are already bringing hope to our communities. Because as more people are vaccinated, this should help reduce the harm caused by COVID-19. And right now, those most at risk are being offered a vaccine first. All vaccines are tested before they are approved for use in Ireland. You don't need to register in advance. You'll be invited for your free vaccine when it's your turn. If you have questions about your COVID-19 vaccine, we have answers you can trust on hse.ie. Or you can call HSE Live on 1850 24 1850 from the HSE.
Shoppers across Ireland believe in the SuperValu own brand range. They get really low prices across thousands of products, like SuperValu butter biscuits only 79¢, SuperValu medium curry sauce 475 gram only 89¢, and SuperValu family cottage pie 1.2 kilo only €6. Try for yourself and you're sure to be a believer too. SuperValu, believe in low prices.
Having a flutter? Top tip, QuinBet.com. Ireland's newest online sportsbook and casino. For all your horse racing, football, casino and more, QuinBet has you covered. With live in-play markets on mobile, PC and app. QuinBet.com. Terms and conditions apply. Gamble responsibly. Visit gambleaware.ie.
Be safe. Support local. Stay at home. Because it's up to us. Across Ireland. This is the IMRO Radio Awards National Station of the Year. This is News Talk.
It's 2 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Murphy. Over 70% of GP practices will be able to vaccinate their elderly patients against COVID-19 on site under new plans. The HSE and Irish Medical Organisation have agreed the rollout of the Pfizer and Moderna jabs to over 70s will begin from the 15th of February. Doctor surgeries in rural areas with fewer than 200 patients in that age group will buddy up to administer doses. Dr Dennis McCauley from the IMO says there'll also be larger vaccination centres set up in Dublin, Galway and Cork, the first of which will be at DCU.
The GP and the patient will go to that infrastructure such as the DCU hub, and they will make an appointment with their GP. He will then give them that vaccine in not their own practice building, but that other building.
Talks are set to continue next week into the format of this year's Leaving Cert. The Department of Education have invited stakeholders to discuss two possibilities. One is full written exams with changes to provide further choice. The other is an alternative option that could include calculated grades. Insurers are being urged to keep their promise of reduced premiums if payouts for personal injury claims come down. The country's most senior judges will meet again in 2 weeks to discuss new guidelines aimed at reducing the level of awards. The Irish Independent reports damages for minor whiplash injuries could be cut by up to 50%. Ken Murphy, Director General of the Law Society, says it's important insurance companies play their part.
Consistent reduced awards is very welcome, and we will see on relation to legal costs that may well follow. But ultimately, the key thing here is, are any savings going to be passed on?
Ireland is bracing itself for more snow, with temperatures set to drop over the coming days. Severe frost, ice as well as sleet or snow is to affect eastern counties from tomorrow before spreading to most areas by midweek. Met Éireann's advisory is due to kick in from tomorrow morning. Myanmar's military rulers have shut down the country's internet following Monday's coup. A near total blackout is in effect. It comes as thousands protest in the country's capital over the takeover. And Joe Biden says there's no need for Donald Trump to have access to intelligence briefings. Former presidents are usually allowed to receive briefings on US security issues even after they've left office. But speaking to CBS News, Joe Biden says Trump's erratic behaviour means he should be refused access.
I just think that there is no need for him to have that intelligence briefing. What value is giving him an intelligence briefing? What impact does he have at all, other than the fact he might slip and say something?
It's 2 minutes past 2.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to the AA, you can find our best discounts on car insurance online. Go to the aa.ie.
Dull and cloudy today with scattered showers mainly in the east. Highest temperatures 4 to 7 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
Welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through to 5 o'clock. The Saturday panel, part 2. Keith Wood, Jonathan Davies and Mike McCarthy, 3 rugby greats to speak about Ireland and Wales and the rest of the Six Nations Championship. We start tomorrow at 3 o'clock in Cardiff at the Principality Stadium. Remember, as listening on News Talk, you can watch us on the social channels for Off the Ball on Periscope and Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook. And if you haven't already, download that OTB Sports app now for iOS and Android. Search OTB Sports in your app store. Keith, Paul O'Connell, you know him very well. In now as forwards coach with John Fogarty as well, and Simon Easterby as well as defence coach. Paul O'Connell, the line out, I'm sure there's one aspect to be looking at. There's probably a twin track thing here. There's psychology, there's aura, there's leadership, and there's also then technical.
Yeah, there's a mixture and all. Mike touched on it in the first part of it for how Joe Schmidt played, and that becomes very important when you start discussing Paul O'Connell. I think Andy Farrell wanted to move away from the fully prescribed manner in which Joe played, and I actually think if Joe was still with Ireland, I think he would have moved away from it as well, because other teams had organised their way to stop Ireland actually being able to hold the ball long enough to find that gap, that chink in the defence. And so I think you see a little bit more the way Ireland are playing, in that they do want to unlock the defence early. They're not just waiting for a mistake. So that takes a period of time under which to do it. But in doing it, I think we lost some of the attention to detail. So the attention to detail at ruck time of going into contact properly, of ensuring that you're falling in exactly the right way, of the next guy that goes in knowing exactly his role to make certain that ball becomes quick ball. And so I think we lost a little bit with it, and I think we can gain a bit of that back with Paul. So Paul's obsessive. If you want to have a conversation with Paul O'Connell, by Christ, do you need to have every single fact and figure right in front of you, because he'll pick holes in that in a heartbeat. He is incredibly intolerant of an opinion that is not fully backed up with full detail, and partly because we get involved in rugby, we love it and it's emotional and all that sort of stuff, but unless we're watching every single factor of it, it's hard to have a good argument with him. So he's ideal, in his mindset is ideal for this. It has to be open to other things and to change more. It's a lovely role for him. I think it isn't 24/7, 365 days a year. I think that becomes very important. His passion for the game is there. It absolutely is there. His aura is there. It's for him to try and find the balance to what he can ask people to do, and he's not actually able to do it anymore himself. He can't don the bloody jersey anymore.
Roy Keane style.
Yeah, it becomes very difficult for him. Like, he can't. He said, why can't they do that? So they have to learn. He has to learn how to explain it, and I think he does have that. I think he does have some of those. I used to tell a story about Zinzan Brooke, the great number 8. At the very end of his career, he played with me in Quins. And Eric Peters, who had played 45 times at number 8 for Scotland, was our number 8. And the ball was going into the scrum. We couldn't get the ball to go to the number 8's feet. And I was striking it, and it kept getting caught in a second row's knee. And Zinny couldn't even understand why it wasn't getting to the feet of the number 8. So he asked Eric to step out, and he went in to number 8. And as the ball went in, he struck it. And just as it was about to hit the second row's knee, he nudged the second row's knee out of the way, and the ball hit his feet. And he threw it back to the scrum half, and it happened again. The exact same thing happened. And he said, I don't see anything wrong with it. He didn't even know that he'd moved your man's leg. He just knew that's what he had to do. He couldn't explain it, but he could do it in his heart of hearts. I think Paul is far more of a coach than that. He isn't he isn't as natural a great as Zinzan was, and he worked really hard at everything. He had to understand everything. It's, can he get that across? But I think he has the skills to be able to get it across. I think it's a role for him to be able to get it across. But he'll be looking for simplicity and accuracy. And players love that. Those two words are things that players love. To be told exactly what to do it, how to get it better. Yeah, they want to eradicate all doubt. I hope that's Paul's role within this system.
Can I ask either Keith or Mike? So Schmidt was very rigid in his style of play. And then when Farrell came in, did he take it a little bit too loosely, from one extreme to the other? So is that why Paul has been brought in to say, right, hang on, let's facilitate, something that both are trying to achieve, to get a good mix on it. So is he maybe reining it back a little bit?
I think some players towards the end of the Joe Schmidt era were thinking, they want to be able to offload the ball, they want to play this multi-phase game. And I think with Mike Catt coming in, they've tried to, build that multi-phase. You see all the provinces playing that expansive game, offloading game, and all the provinces look, really good at that. But bringing that into international rugby, as we know, defences are watertight. It's a lot harder, but it's very difficult to go from playing how Joe Schmidt played, which Keith was talking about there, to playing this expansive game where you offload. And what is the middle ground between doing it correctly? It's hard and it takes time, and I think we've seen it evolve. But I think it's great by, as we've touched on, Paulie coming back in, because he's going to shore up the breakdown, and then if they can keep adapting their game under Mike Catt, hopefully they will get that balance as the games continue.
Mike, I don't think it needs to be one or the other. I think the blend over a period of time, and maybe that step might have been a bit too quick, but it was so effective for so long. It's very hard to leave it go. But in the last year, it wasn't effective. It wasn't as effective as they wanted, and people had found out ways to do it. But I think there's an urge and a drive in Irish rugby at the moment to be, I'm not going to say if you can say entertaining without using it as a sort of negative, right? But I think they can be entertaining and effective and play something that lifts the spirits, because I think that's important. I think rugby has a role within that at the present moment in time, not to be, you described a turgid 12-6 affair, but to have something that sets the world alight, because you're not able to feed off the crowd or off the atmosphere. You have to be able to do a mixture of both. I wouldn't consider Paul O'Connell as the guy that's going to be flamboyant and make your game more flamboyant. But if he tidies up the parts he knows he can tighten up, I think there's roles for other players to be able to do that. And I think that's where Ireland are trying to get to. But it's very hard squeezing all that into 2 Six Nations in 6 months and an autumn international and a whole mixture of things. It's very hard to kind of make that happen. But we live in hope for that.
I think it's been very similar with Wales. The Gatlin era, where with Jamie Roberts, and we played very structured rugby. And then Wayne's coming in, maybe not an ex-player who's come in like Paul, but I think some of the the experienced players, like especially Alan Wynne, has said, "Oh, a minute, we need to kind of rein it back in and start playing to some kind of structures we had before." So I think it's very similar.
Sorry, Jonathan, I was just going to ask you: did the defence coach left during the Autumn Nations Cup, didn't he, for Wales?
Yeah.
Have they got a new defence coach in, or I know that
Jonathan Davies.
Oh, okay.
It's him. Yeah, and I think you look at it. Sean Edwards is in France. You got John Mitchell in England. I think it's Simon Easterby now with you, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure who the Scottish defence coach is. I can't remember.
I missed that starter for 10 as well.
Yeah, me. So, he is just starting off as a coach, and Byron Hayward was with Wayne Pivac at the Scarlets for a number of years, so he actually knew, what Byron could do. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if he was trying to change the system. Some of the players had a word, I don't know, but all of a sudden, it was very strange that he left very quickly.
I get the sense here that Andy Farrell is not under pressure at the moment. We're still almost in the transitional phase or transitional period. Is Wayne Pivac under a lot of heat? What are the natives? How are they feeling in Wales they're so obsessive about their rugby? Like, you're in semi-finals of the World Cup, you're winning the Grand Slam in 2019. What's the mood on the ground there at the moment?
Yeah, he is under pressure. We all know that no matter what you say about performances, it's results driven. And we didn't play particularly well. I think Keith was right. The autumn tests were thrown together, and there was no intensity and not a lot of interest there. But even losing those put him under intense pressure. They beat Georgia and they beat Italy, but it was losing to Scotland in it's one of the worst games I've ever seen in my life. And then you had England comprehensively beat them, right? So he is under intense pressure, and I'm not sure what his contract is. Maybe it's going to be reviewed this year, and if he doesn't get results, the chances are you won't be there. You won't be there next year. So, but I do feel sorry for him. I don't think that, as I mentioned earlier, the strength in depth, isn't it? We haven't even got a footballer. You can change your game. Ireland can change their game. Scotland can change their game. England and France can. I'm not sure if we can. We haven't got a full back who can hit the line. We haven't got a football in 12. I don't think none of those centres can kick a ball. So that's the worry I've got. We're not developing players to come through and because I think that the strength of the better sides are adapting and changing their game on the field to win that particular game. You can work the systems all week, and if it doesn't work on a Saturday, you need your key players to go, forget that. We can work on the systems on Monday. We've got to win this game first. And I can't see where or who can change the game for Wales at the moment. And having watched Leinster last week, and they all play the similar systems, the difference between the speed of the rucks and against the Scarlets was phenomenal. And for a standoff to have that ball in the pocket, you have an armchair ride, and I think that could be the big issue Sunday. Tomorrow.
Yeah.
You can edit that.
No problem. Keith, Johnny Sexton, it's Super Bowl weekend. Tom Brady's 43. He's in the Super Bowl again. Johnny Sexton is going to be 36 in July. Evergreen, essential. He really is the fulcrum of the Irish team.
Yeah, I don't like that comparison. I know he does. Yeah, and it's okay. And I know you now like it, but I don't like it.
I'd like to be Tom Brady.
Yeah. So,
why don't you like it?
The reason I don't like it is that, for Johnny, for Brady, in American football, it is incredibly specific, and very, very few people get to hit him. The job is for everybody just to protect him. He should be in an armchair ride. He runs on, he runs off. It's about having a really good arm, right? And a great mind, which he has for the sport. And of course, he's achieved and achieves and looks after himself and does all that sort of stuff. Rugby is multidiscipline, and it is multi-fitness oriented. So you need speed. You're out half. They call him a quarterback. That's lazy journalism, in my view. You orchestrate the game, but you're trying to do it at 100 miles an hour while there's people flying at you left, right, and centre, and nobody can block for you. So I think for me, it's just the uncomfortable thing. Johnny is our best out half, right? At this present moment in time, no doubt whatsoever. We have a gap between him and the next one, which is too big. So the idea of saying, well, I'm going to keep playing while I do it, at some stage, A, he'll get injured, and we will not have enough of players that have enough experience below him, or B, he'll just retire, and we still don't. So we need to start forcing that hand sooner. Now, I'm still happy in the Six Nations to have Johnny there, and I really am, but I do hope that when we play Italy in particular, that Johnny isn't playing. And in my view, Johnny isn't even on the bench for that, because we need to start getting players to play, and we need to blood guys to play far more often. It's just difficult for us. So Jiffy was talking about the strength and depth. We have got strength and depth pretty much everywhere in our team, apart from out half. From injury, from different reasons, where we don't have the confidence in the tens behind Johnny. That's a hard place to be. And Noel Murphy, who I think anybody who's ever been involved in rugby would know, he toured with Ireland, or toured with the Lions in '59 with my father, and he has a quite high-pitched Cork voice, and he would say, "You're only ever an injury away," and that's actually true in this instance. We're an injury away from having to make a decision about players that haven't been given enough exposure. We need to get to that point at some stage. This is not Johnny's fault, not in any way, shape or form. He should go on and play for as long as he possibly can. But if he is, we probably need him to be taking it to the gain line more, and then he mightn't play an awful lot more because he's going to get hit. So it is a catch-22 idea. But the idea of playing on for as long as you possibly can, it's a team game. So I don't like that. I don't like that phraseology.
Okay. Johnny has been speaking there. He was on the show last week, Mike, about maybe embracing mindfulness. I'd say it's even more important now. How are the players, do you think, are they able to adjust easily to the fact that they're in this bubble and not go stir crazy at the moment because they're away from their families? Obviously, we know why they're in the bubble, but I suppose that's why it's important to have Paul O'Connell around. What do you do to distract yourself, to keep yourself going? So you will be in a good mindset for Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. I think one thing all rugby players are is adaptable to the situation they're in. So look, it's not. I think they feel lucky for the privilege and the fact that they get to go into work each day and be together and work hard, and they're aiming and hoping to put on a big performance whenever they play, which the nation can be proud of. So they've got that in the back of their minds. They feel very lucky to be in there. You touched on mindfulness there. That's certainly something I imagine they'll be doing a lot of during this period. It's something Joe Schmidt brought in, and I think Johnny Sexton said in his piece during the week, which I listened to, was he was skeptical when he first heard about mindfulness and trying to be present in the moment, not looking behind you to the past or not looking to the future. Having a bit of space, having a bit of time to be there and to be present, and it helps recovery. Joe Schmidt brought that in, and Johnny Sexton's taken it forward and he uses it a lot now. So the players will be using that a lot in terms of their preparation. And by this stage, I think they're used to playing in the kind of those empty stadiums where they can hear the echoes of their calls. And probably it's a little bit more difficult at times to get up for games, especially when you're playing for your provinces. You walk out and there's a full empty stadium, maybe at Thomond Park. It's going to be a different level going out of the Millennium Stadium. What is it, an 80,000, 82,000 seater stadium? So, but I think, they know how to deal with that at this stage. And once they get out there and the whistle blows, they're into autopilot. They're not really thinking too much about it. But, you're speaking there about Johnny Sexton, and Keith was saying about taking the ball a bit more to the line. I can see exactly why they brought James Lowe back into the team, who hasn't played much rugby. For me, and perhaps we didn't see it against England, but, when James Lowe plays for Leinster, I liken it to, the likes of Manu Tuolangi playing for England, in terms of when he gets the ball, he gets over the game line, he draws in 2, 3, sometimes 4 defenders. He really narrows defences and draws defenders in. So it makes the rest of the back line look a lot better, because they're then attacking against a much weakened defensive line. So, I think with James Lowe, getting him into the game against Wales early, he carries the ball hard, gets over the game line, and I think he's going to create a lot of space and make everyone else in that back line look very good.
If there are to be match winners on the Welsh team, Jonathan, I see Louis Rees-Zammit has come in. Who are the potential players that could upset the odds here?
I think Ken Owens needs a big game. I think Ken's come back from injury, and the Welsh lineups have been poor. So that's got to be kind of spot on tomorrow. And I think the front row in particular, because they struggled in the autumn, and I know that the Irish will put them under pressure. So they've got to just hold their own on Sunday. That's vitally important. And then we've got to try and get Johnny Williams and George North on the front foot. George North has played very well lately. He had a poor autumn, but he has really, really stepped up, and he's enjoying his rugby at the Ospreys. He's scoring tries. He's looking for work. You talk about this on form. He is a huge threat. He is a massive kind of human being. He's powerful. He can carry the ball well. So hopefully bring him into the game. I think that's important. But I think, talking about the mindfulness, all the best players I've played with and against have had great mental toughness. And all the greats I've ever come across, in post-rugby, is a mental toughness and an attitude and an application to win games. And I think during this environment at the moment, that's going to be more crucial, because when you're in a hotel and there's all people around you, yeah, it's great and fun. But when you're in a hotel and there's no one around you, and they've got to stay 2 meters apart, it is very, very tough. But as Mike said, it's a privileged existence, playing in the plan, and they're still going about their work. But preparing and mentally preparing, for the preparation in the week, and then turning up in the right state of mind, I think is going to be crucial. And then you've got to create your own atmosphere, because there's no crowds there. But I do think that Wales will be sharper than they were in the autumn. I think there'll be an intensity there which wasn't there in the autumn, because as Keith mentioned, this actually means something. Where the autumn, you can just, don't worry about that. This means something, and it means something to the players, but it means something to the supporters at home. And everyone in Ireland and Wales at home will be sat, this is a relief for them, and they'll be sat on their sofas with their beers and their crisps or whatever, and they will analyse every player. And they don't care if he's made a mistake, but they want him to give 110% for their country on Sunday. And I think that's why it'll be a real step up from the autumn.
We're going to get to the big match verdict very shortly on Ireland against Wales in Cardiff on Sunday. Keith, you were chatting to Joe during the week. You like the French in the Six Nations. Ntamack obviously is out, but Jalabert and Dupont are going to play against Italy. It's almost like, because this is all about the build-up to 2023, they're playing maybe with a bit of freedom. And if everybody could be like that, then teams would be probably playing a lot better.
Yeah, no, I'm going to disagree with you again. If any French team plays like that, then everything's all right with the world. I think it would drive everybody else to distraction, and we don't have that natural gliding, running. Yeah, and look, it's funny. I was talking back on the joy I had in the 80s watching, it is great fun being able to say this, watching Jiffy when I was a kid. But also the idea of watching Sella and
Blanco
and all.
Amazing.
But watching the depth under which they ran from. And so there were entirely different defensive structures then. And they were running from depth. If you watch the way France have played under their new management system, they're actually playing from those same levels of depth, a double-tiered level in the back line. They're able to run different lines. Okay, they're passing under no pressure because they're so far behind the gain line, but they're exposing chinks immediately and in real time. And they're guys with they don't seem to have any pressure because they're 21 years of age. They're just excited to be wearing the jersey and to be running at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And they are beginning to play that style that if they get on top of you, they can rack up a big score. And so I love the fact that they've brought that back. They have a huge pack of forwards that are, even some of them aren't as big as they used to be, but they are incredibly effective and powerful. And so that's a lovely mix. And then the best part of the lot is another obsessive on the game, Sean Edwards, who is giving them a sense of discipline that they haven't had in the Six Nations in the 20 years. They haven't had a concerted level of discipline and a standard under which they can say this is how we perform on a day-to-day basis. And he is a total nerd in defence, the biggest nerd of all time. Like a sponge for anything to give him a bit of an edge over anybody, and that mental stuff that he has. Like, I don't know how good his French is, and we had an interview with him. But I know he's trying because he's getting it across. So, but he has a touch of gold dust about him. So that French team, look, the whole package. They're going to have hiccups along the way, but my God, they're exciting to watch.
Are you sick about that, Sean Edwards, Jonathan?
He's just a miserable git from up north. That's what he is. I shared a room with him for 3 weeks. That was a nightmare. So that was a very strange lad. But hey, he is what he is. He's been a professional since he was 16, coming into a sporting environment like dynasty like Wigan, and they just knew how to win and wanted to win. And I think they messed it up. I wasn't involved in negotiation, the contract details. But look what's happened. As Mike said, Byron's gone, and now they got Gethin Jenkins. Great player, but still untested with at that level as defensive coach. So it's been desperate since he's gone. But he has, as Keith said, they are a focus. He will absolutely rip into them if they miss tackle. So they got that intensity in the defence. And they've got that natural flamboyancy in attack. And like he said, the depth is brilliant. They keep their depth, but they still hit the ball flat. And also they've got this skill of You know, like Alan Bateman was brilliant at it. You know, you put a pass on the outside shoulder of the defender, and they'll feint to go on and use the pass to get on the outside. So they have all the talents, you know, to be the best side in the world. And with the World Cup coming up, that is their focus. And they've got a great, you know, they've got a number of players that stand off. Ontamak is not playing, but they've got a world-class 9 now in DuPont, and that's where historically the general has been. So they seem happy with him running the show, and they just enjoying themselves.
I think that Vakatawa is a big loss as well, because he's obviously missing as well.
Yeah,
so that's a big loss for them. But that Sean Edwards is, like you said there, I think I had him at Wasps 2003. I know that was the beginning of his journey, but it's not just the defensive structure he brings, that line speed. It's that you can see in France that urgency and speed to feet that he's brought in, which the French are now doing, which is something they weren't accustomed to previously.
We're kind of running out of time here, folks. Briefly, Keith, England, you'll have too much for Scotland, do you think, today?
I think they will. I think they're a really good power team when they play organised. They are the most organised, but they also have an incredible work ethic. I love how they use every player on the field gets involved. I do like it. I still think they kick a bit too much, and I think it's sometimes a bit too boring, but I think they're incredibly effective. Scotland have improved a lot. Have they improved enough? An awful lot would have to go right for them, but I see it as being England, to be honest.
Okay, it's a 3 o'clock kick-off tomorrow at the Principality Stadium for Ireland against Wales. Big match verdicts time from our all-star panel here. Who, why and by how many? Mike McCarthy.
Oh, can I go last, please?
Okay.
No, you're the youngest.
No, you can't. No, do what you're told.
Okay, so for Ireland-Wales?
Yes.
I'm going Ireland 23. I should have prepared for this. I knew you'd ask me this, but I didn't think of it. Ireland 23, Wales 12.
And Keith, your verdict?
Okay, because I'm the middle and I'm not going to give an actual score, but I think Ireland will win by about a very similar 15 points is what I said during the week. I'm going to stick with it, but I do think it's going to be tight and hard, and I think we pull away at the end. And
Jonathan Davies, you get the final word here.
Yeah, I've said all this week. I think Ireland are the favourites, and I think that Ireland will win by 6 points. I think we'll have problems scoring tries, so a lot of our points will come from penalties. But I just feel Ireland are the stronger side.
Lads, all I want to be when this is all over is in a motorcade going into Cardiff and watching the BBC and watching Keith Wood and Jonathan Davies and maybe having a pint with you afterwards. You've been great sports.
And me as well, yeah?
And you, Mike.
We can definitely...
He's having a pint with you, Mike.
We can definitely organise the pint. That'll happen.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anywhere, Ireland or Wales.
Ireland or Wales. May the best team win tomorrow. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.
Brilliant. Cheers, John.
Thank you.
Cheers, boys.
Thanks, lads. Thank you.
Take care, guys. Thanks so much.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
Having a flutter? Top tip, QuinBet.com. Ireland's newest online sportsbook and casino. For all your horse racing, football, casino and more, QuinBet has you covered. With live in-play markets on mobile, PC and app. QuinBet.com. Terms and conditions apply. Gamble responsibly. Visit gambleaware.ie.
Calling all builders, joiners, plasterers and dryliners. Need advice on the right materials for the job? Consider it done. You need them on site and in your hand. Consider it done. You want access to over 10,000 products from the leading construction brands?